Hey, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ojileye Olawale, popularly known as Chief Wales. And guess what? There is the Southwest Zonal Chess Championship going on right now in Nigeria at the Chevron Recreational Center right there in Gbagada, Lagos. And the best of the best, cream de la cream of Nigerian chess are actually there participating in at this event. The winner of this event in the male section, it's going to qualify to play at the National Chess Championship trials coming up September, I believe. Yes, such that they can have a shot in playing at the National Chess Championship Invitationals that will be coming up in November. So it is actually a big deal, right? I think Keilo Kimusa was able to win from the North Central recently, and we're trying to see if we can get a winner that's going to represent from the Southwest. I believe South are still going to do theirs. There will be Southeast, and I think there's North Central. I think there is North. Is it Northeast? I believe maybe Northeast. I'm not so sure. I can't recall, but I believe they've done theirs in the past. But now we are at Southwest, and guess what? Southwest has been the only tournament, only zonal tournament that has the highest number of participants since the beginning of this event. The first one at Oshogbo, the second one in Lagos, the third one was supposed to be in Akure, but for one reason or the other, logistics and one other things, I don't know, but it came back to Lagos. And guess what? In the open section alone, we have over 130 players, and in the female category, 40 female players. If we had these two together, that's making about 170 to 180 participants, and we are only looking for just one player, one male, one female to qualify for the NCC trials coming up in September. Well, anyways, I'm not going to be giving you too much talks. Let's dive into one of the very interesting game of round one between FIDE Master Eyetongo Callistus and versus Mufuta Waris John. Now, Callistus, a little bit of background. Callistus just won, actually, I will say just, he won National Friends of Chess. Exceptional player. He was able to hold International Master, well, let me just say, I was hoping he's going to be an International Master immediately, but we'll come back to that gist later. He was able to hold Olisa Tennyson to a draw in the final round, just a drawn game, and he got the crown for the National Friends of Chess 2025, which was, by the way, one of the largest, in fact, I believe it's still the largest open tournament so far in Nigeria as at 2025. So, here we go. He is playing against one of Ibadan or your state's finest young talent in person of Mufuta Waris John. Yeah, Mufuta Waris John, I believe, is from the BKGC Academy in Ibadan here. And this is the game. Now, one thing about the higher rated players is that when you are playing against them, you don't want to be cramped. You shouldn't look for cramped openings. You should play, all your pieces must be out there playing, because these guys is just one mishap, and that is the end of Solomon Grundy. For example, in this position, in this game that I'm about to show you, you will see a situation whereby a bishop was just sentenced to life jail imprisonment. Well, the bishop actually sentenced itself. By the time the bishop was going to come out, it was, the effect of the bishop in the end game was completely zero. Anyways, let's give it a shot. White played d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4. By the way, Callistus, FIDE Master Callistus was white, and Mufuta Waris John was black. So, b6, e4, bishop b2, bishop b7. We have a double attack on this pawn right now. The truth of the matter is this knight is not actually protecting this pawn because it's being pinned to its king, so there is nothing there anyway. So we have bishop d3, which is increasing now the number of defenders on this pawn. So we have these two guys defending this pawn, and now this knight, this pawn is no longer a free pawn anymore. So h6 was played, probably stopping a potential pin. Knight e2, c5, and now booms, d5. Now notice something. If you notice right now that this bishop is already brightening on granite from the beginning of the game, and I don't think this bishop is going to have this square later to attack anything, because I'm so sure white is not going to allow that to happen. Now the overall play for this game, the strategy is to make sure this bishop for a very long time is going to be useless. completely useless. And this is just Black's undoing. This is looking like a sort of it's not like a Benoni structure. I honestly I don't even know what this opening is anyway. So pawn takes, of course pawn takes. Now, not this pawn takes, because this pawn takes allows or will give room for this bad bishop. This bishop, apparently they tell you a bishop that is not behind its own pawns is not bad, but I think this bishop right now is having a hard time because it'll be biting on granite almost all through the game. So d6 was played. Notice this bishop is over here. Anyways, no problem. Castles, king castles, develop, bishop takes, and queen takes. Queen takes is a very, very wonderful idea. Why? Because some players will probably play pawn takes, but this pawn takes actually in the long run allows gives room for, you know, probably this pawn push. You know, we don't want that to happen. But with this, you will see if there is any b5 in the nearest future with this pawn there, everything is well settled. And now we have this wonderful, just look at white pieces, just look at them, compare them to black pieces. This guy completely offside, doing zilch at the moment, completely zilch. This bishop would have been happier if it can go through this place and probably come towards this side, maybe back here, and, you know, probably try to exchange this bishop. Just maybe, I'm just giving you some random ideas, okay? But staying there, terrible idea. Anyways, knight goes here. Sorry, I'm so fast about that. Knight attacks the bishop. We don't want to lose our bishop. The bishop pair are so wonderful. All of them looking at a very fantastic semi-open diagonal and the open diagonal. Those two bishops are monsters, coupled with the queen. Very soon, this knight is going to be chased away from here with a simple just pawn push. Anyways, let's look at it. b5 was played. Like I said, you remember I said it before. This bishop will probably try to get away from get us from this side, but with this pawn takes idea, this bishop actually maybe will try and start fighting from this place. Just maybe. Let's look at it. What happened? f4, like I predicted. We're going to chase this knight away so that we can have full access to this semi-open file, and, you know, with the, semi-open diagonal and that diagonal. And now look at it. This is probably one of the worst moves. Probably one of the worst moves, because here you simply just probably you still have a chance of after pawn takes pawn idea. You know, let me see. Maybe just say maybe after the knight probably runs away, maybe something like maybe knight back here, maybe at least you are planning pawn takes, and probably this bishop can probably come here and start maybe tutoring the pawn on c4, you know, just keeping a little bit of high on the pawn on c4. At least it will be doing something interesting there. And maybe in the not too distant future you can add some other attackers to help put more pressure on the pawn. But with this move, sorry, it's just locked in the cage. Just complete self-imprisonment. And now knight went out to go back. Now you see the bishop is still not out. It's still there. Knight goes out, rook out, knight in there. Now this is fantastic. Look at it. Everything high in this square, high in the pawn on g7. Now this knight mustn't move away at any point in time. If it moves, maybe somewhere here, you have to be very careful, because a free pawn can come out of it. Right, f8, like you see, it's going, it's happening a little bit. Rook exchange rooks. And now, look at it. This is a blunder. Number one blunder. After rook takes rook. Oh, he's not doing that yet. I think, can't he immediately do rook takes rook? I think so. Rook takes rook immediately is possibly, it should be possible there. Because after rook takes rook, if the knight takes, and now this pawn looks like it's, no. Okay, now I see. Sorry, apologies as regard. So, the idea was, yes, it doesn't want that to happen. Yes, because if the rook takes rook here, if the knight takes, we don't have apologies. We don't have this bishop takes because the knight is going to be protecting what the king is protecting. So, but imagine, look at this, is a lot of pressure, a lot of pressure on this pawn on g7, and pawn push, waiting move, maybe prophylaxis, stopping this knight from coming forward, maybe, but the knight can't even go forward in the first place because knight just simply dashes in there, and there's problem. So anyway, rook takes rook, and thank you very much. Suddenly, remember that it was this knight here that was helping to actually hold on to this pawn. Remember, if anything comes there, knight takes, is stopping the knight takes pawn idea. But right now, There is no queen protecting these knights, so this is a free pawn. And for members of the Pawn Grabbers Association, when you see something like this, you just go for it. Knight takes pawn, check what's happening in the game, pawn takes knight, and boom, bishop takes. Guess what? Look at it again. That wonderful looking diagonal. The bishop is looking on this diagonal. Now we have two open diagonals, actually. Two open diagonals. Black is seriously in trouble. Look at how miserable this bishop is looking right now. That's a miserable bishop. And now bishop had to come to see it. For the very first time in 23 moves, the bishop came out to a reasonable square. But by the time he got out, things are already completely messed up. And now, simple move, queen f2, see, look, interesting plan, queen f2, after bishop d7, still doesn't affect the price of Gary in the market, and we have the queen g3. Queen g3, pinning the knight to the king, and f5 is actually coming next. Immediately, we have rook d8. Of course, I'm going to takes, and f5. Oh, goodness. And there is no checks. There are no checks because every square is well protected. And the king got to move, pawn takes pawn check, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes knight check, pawn takes pawn back, and we have this queen takes a free pawn, threatening, some form of, in fact, if you can exchange, this pawn is hanging, you can exchange, first exchanges there with these two bishops. This is just, these are just interesting snacks, on the dark squares. Anyways, queen check, queen ran away, queen went back here, and now we have the first free pawn, and queen attacks the bishop. But we came here to protect our bishop back, easy peasy, and bishop came in there. Of course, we're going to exchange it gladly if we can, but guess what? Even with the bishop, a bad bishop trying to come for an exchange at a completely lost endgame, white was threatening a mate. And now, exactly how are you going to stop this mate? You can't push this pawn forward because now this becomes a bishop check. In fact, it is like if only could have just pushed this pawn forward, we'll have seen one of the most beautiful mates in the world. For example, let's just say if this pawn comes forward, then we have bishop check. The queen has to come in there, and guess what? Don't take the queen. Just go over here and say checkmate. Oh my God, imagine, this is so beautiful to watch. But our player, Waris John, actually denied us that ecstasy by just playing. Queen takes bishop, and now we have queen takes queen, and now bishop takes bishop. And guess what? This is what is it called? Debbie, aspiring future queen, and this is Caroline, another aspiring future queen. Guess what? And these are enough to actually win the game. And we have d6. After pawn to g5, we have just queen pawn to d2. d7, and guess what? Debbie is about to come on board. The moment it was g4 and we have a queen check, Debbie is actually going to deliver the mate. Guess what? Black actually resigned. See, this bishop was a killer, was a dream killer. If not for this bishop, probably Black would have had better chances in fighting in this position. It was crammed from day one. That bishop had no squares, imprison itself on b7 without future plans of how it's going to emancipate itself to be part of the attackers. And at the end of the day, it was in the the demise of, okay, let me see. That bishop is a team player. Come on, everybody was walking looking for things to do. All you have to do is go and hide somewhere. Come on, you don't do that. But anyways, if you're playing chess, be careful of this kind of bishop. Bad placed pieces, put them where they'll be better, or give them air, room for them to, be able to breathe instead of being choked up over there. Well, I'm so sure it's not the bishop's fault, but probably the person that handled the bishop. Anyways, that is it. That is round one. Most of the the favorites actually won their game in this round, but I think there is a funny, interesting game between International Master Balogun Oluwafemi and one young star, Taiwo Daniel, who actually had a better position, and I don't know the end yet, but guess what? We will. That might be the first upset of the game, but I'm just saying there is a time flagged something, but we're not sure of the results yet. Don't worry, once we get the final result, we're going to bring out that wonderful game for the public to see. Bye. Thank you very much. It is yours truly, Chief Wales. See you. Southwest Zonals Chess Championship still going on. Bye for now.